6, so we're using 2006 money to operate a full-time building. That's where the issues come in, and it's 2024, so, yeah, I'm hoping for the best too, for these people that protect our lives.
I'm hoping we do more than just hope.
Yeah,
Hope we
me
plan.
me too.
All right, correspondence. The only thing I have for correspondence is we got something in a couple weeks ago about Reese's Pond down in Chippewa Village. It's actually in the township. It's at the top, or I guess north side of east side of Lake Street.
Lake Street, east side,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the issue was raised a year or two ago, I can't remember, and to do something with it, the person asked about part of the ORC that had nothing to do with township, so we couldn't do anything. I will contact the soil and water people and see if there's anything that can be done there. It's in the township, but the village owns the property. It's a drainage system. It is silted in. It's full of sediment from decades and decades of runoff. But I will see what can be done, what needs to be done on it, but I don't think there's anything that we can enforce right now. I don't know, you guys have any other correspondence?
No.
No.
Unresolved business. Might as well jump right into it.
Yeah.
Good segue. We talked about a levy, it's been brought up. We've had quite a few meetings regarding it this year. We've had work sessions, we've talked about it. I think during our last meeting, not the last one in June, but the one before that, we've all come to the conclusion that something's got to be done. We all think that staffing is the most important thing, and that we can't just let it go as it is. I know Chief Kavanaugh's preference was to put a 2.5 mil levy on the ballot this fall, and that would come up with, was it $87.50 per $100,000, and that would generate a little north of $700,000 annually. So let's start with that and jump into any discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, looking at everything that we've discussed about the needs of the department, the wants of the department, well, actually, before we get into that, I think it's important, because I think Trustee Fullerton kind of hit on it. Prior to COVID, we weren't staffing 24/7 because the budget didn't warrant it. That's what the residents had approved and funded, was not a 24/7 staffed department. With COVID and all of the federal money that came in, we had the opportunity to use those funds to staff the department 24/7, and we've been kind of working through that ever since. 3 different boards now, and it was never something that was going to be able to continue. Those federal funds weren't going to last forever. So we're now at the point where that decision needs to be made. We can argue back and forth over whether it should have been done before or not, but the reality is this is where we are. So I see it as the department has kind of needs, and I don't necessarily want to call them wants, but I think it's a little bit less of a need, and definitely something that the residents need to weigh in on. And where I'm going with that is, the equipment need. We've talked about the squads. EMS is the vast majority of the work that our people do. So that's equipment that truly needs to be reliable. I mean, the last thing you want is our squad out there responding to an emergency and have, a mechanical issue that
Right.
prevents them from being able to do what they need to do. So, I would clump that need, whether it's 1 or 2 new ambulances over the next 5 years, as being a need. The staffing issue, I wouldn't put that on the same level, but I do think that it's something, as we've talked about, we're gonna approve a levy to the ballot. The voters are gonna decide what the township looks like going forward, what the fire district looks like going forward. So I really think we need to look at it from 2 different standpoints for a couple of reasons. One, I think they're different things that we're asking for. We're asking for equipment and we're asking for staffing. And there are gonna be people that are gonna have different opinions on both. Also, with the equipment, that's gonna be a fixed purchase, so to speak, and a 5-year levy would be appropriate for that because we know what that's gonna be. If we're gonna buy 2 new squads over the next 5 years, we can pretty much figure that's gonna run us $800,000 in that range. But if we're talking about staffing and moving the department to 24/7, paying our first responders a more competitive wage, or looking at potentially going full-time, those aren't costs that are going to disappear in 5 years. So I think like our current continuous levy, anything that we do to support or to ask the community to support staffing really needs to be done on a continuous levy standpoint. That's kind of the crux of what I worked on since the last meeting with Chief, where he kind of put all the numbers together. And where I see it kind of going is on the squad side of things. If we did a 3/4 mil levy, it would generate $217,000 a year. So over the 5 years, it would bring in a little over $1 million. It would be dedicated just for fleet, so purchasing 2 new squads. And right now, we're running roughly $40,000 to $50,000 a year annually in maintenance for the current equipment. If we could roll that into being an allowable use for that levy, which would bring down some of the operating costs on the department currently. Should save the department about $40,000 to $50,000 a year off of what they're currently running. I think that's, a reasonable ask. And then looking at some of the things that Chief wanted to be able to do as far as staffing 2 paramedics 24/7 and paying them for 24 hours versus just paying them for the 18 that we pay them now and their stipend. 16 now it's stipend, right, Chief? 18? It is 18? Okay. So, but either way, instead of asking them for that stipend, just pay them the full hourly. With operating expenses, we should be able to, again, if we can shift some of that cost for maintaining the fleet to an ambulance levy, we should be able to operate the department, those fixed costs, for around $250 for the year. With Chief's salary, 2 part-time EMTs, paramedics, even if we forecast that we'll staff that at $25 an hour, that would run us about, with Chief's salary, would still run us under $600,000, just under. We could use that third shift, that third person shift that we run right now for 8 hours a day. We could extend that to 7 days a week at a cost of roughly $80,000 a year. Even allocating for an extra $120,000 for those overages, for the assistant chief, for the captain, for those types of things, that would bring our total need for the department to just over $1 million a year operating. 616 on the current levy, 120,000 to stay conservative on EMS charges, brings our current revenue to about 740, which means to get to that just over $1 million, we need about 284,000, which works out to pretty much a 1 mil levy. If you want to allow for some growth, you could look at like a 1.25 mil, which would generate 360. and bring that overall budget up to $1,060,000, you know, to give some buffer. But I think right now, given that the residents have never been asked to fund more than a part-time department, to go from asking them to fund a part-time department, jumping straight to a full-time department with full-time staff at more than, I mean, the 2.5 mil levy is gonna be 117% increase on what we're currently paying, what we're currently asking residents to pay. And the phase, the increase in staffed hours in year one is a little over 0.5%. In year two, when we start bringing on some of the additional, and again, this is just going straight off, not that it's exactly what we would do, but off of Chief's proposal, even in year two, even with that 117% increase in tax revenue, we're still only increasing the hours of coverage by about 34%. To me, lumping them together is a huge ask. One that I think is more than what most people, you know, I don't want to speak for everybody. I just think it's a bigger ask. It's a huge jump from where we're at. I think it puts us in jeopardy of being in a situation where we're right back in this situation trying to manage a $616,000 budget next year with all the same problems that we currently have. So, you know, my counter, I guess, to the original proposal of Chief would be a $0.75 mil levy for ambulance and a 1.25 for operating the department. And do the operational one as a continuous, because again, if you pass a 5-year levy to support salaries and staffing, 5 years from now, you're gonna have a department in panic mode over whether we're gonna have to cut half of them if we can't pass a levy. And nobody knows what the world, the economy, or anything's gonna look like in 5 years. So, just my thoughts.
We shouldn't have brought that up last couple of meetings. We could have discussed it around the table. I mean, they're good points. Are you saying that the 1.25 mil would be a continuing levy?
I would think, I just think that matches what we're asking for. You know, when you're asking for a purchase, to purchase specific equipment, you have a one-time cost that you're looking to fund. When you're talking about staffing, that's going to be ongoing. I understand the concern and the fear over, continuous levies, but.
Well, we're living one right now.
Right, exactly.
It's 22 years old.
So, you're going to need that money 6 years from now. Like, if we can do the ambulance levy, right? If you're buying equipment, you're not gonna need that again in 6 years. You're gonna have more time. If you do it on the salaried piece of it, where you're gonna have staff here, and all of a sudden you lose half of your revenue for staffing, you lose half your staff and then some.
And you're anticipating using the 1.25 mil continuing levy for staffing. That's your.
Well, right, that would be a continuous operating levy, just like the current one that we have, which would be, that would allow that money to be unrestricted as far as that goes. The ambulance levy would be one that would be only for the purchase and maintenance of our fleets. And the prosecutor's office can write the language for us so that, well, actually, I think the Board of Elections actually writes the language, but maybe it's the prosecutor. Either way, we don't have to write the language to make it work. We just tell them what we want, what the purpose is.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Ty said that we've had an ongoing levy for 22 years. You're talking about another special levy, and then a third for the ambulance. Are we talking three separate levies?
That's what it would be. But
Well,
to
to make it worse, it'd actually wind up being 4, because you have the bond for the building as well.
Okay.
But the idea is, we've talked about, look, in a perfect world, you'd have one continual operating levy. But the issue that you run with there is if we take the current levy and just ask to increase it, and it fails, you lose all your funding completely, and the department's gone. We'd be irresponsible to even consider that. So You know, if you look at a lot of the surrounding communities, Hinckley would be a perfect example. I think they have 4 fire levies on the books right now because they do them a mill at a time as they need them. But I don't want to say exactly. They may have their own reason for it, but they have 4 different levies that are on the books. You know, and the reason that I think it's important for us to do them separately is we can do a better job of budgeting and being transparent with the people, and that's not to try to be to create division, but we can always do better. And I think we need to get to the point where we prove that we can work within a budget, which we haven't done for the last couple of years. Once we prove that, then maybe we can revisit that. Plus, we have a situation where we have the bond levy. If we continue down the path that we're on, that should be gone by the time this ambulance levy would be gone. So we'd be taking two taxes off the people before we would ever come back to them for looking at potentially needing any additional type of funding. So it does get complicated as far as the number of levies that are out there, but it's not that uncommon. There are definitely communities that do that.
What if we replace our continuing levy, don't we lose money from the state?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that would,
that's
that would
what
also
I'm-
be an issue, but we could,
And
I
then
mean, we could,
second, we're gonna need, like, your ambulance only lasts for so many years before they're gonna be insured. So if we put one on the levy, then we don't pass the next levy, then they don't have an ambulance they can use
but
after
that's,
so long.
but that's why the .75 mil levy would buy 2 new ambulances over the next 5 years and maintain our fleet.
Yes, but then you're gonna need a fire truck. You got 2 fire trucks and 2 ambulances. So over the course of 20 years, you need to replace 4 of them, right?
For what?
2 ambulances and 2 fire trucks.
Potentially,
How long the fire trucks last?
But we're not at the point where that's an immediate need. I mean, we've talked
But
about
then we
that.
gotta pass it every time it's an immediate need. Like, we should have a fund set up for it so that when it's needed, it's there and we don't have to take more money every time.
That only works if you're not spending more money than you bring in every year.
Well, yeah, but if you only bring in what you need for one ambulance, you don't plan for the future, you don't have anything. If you put money in there, you've got a chance to at least grow it in a fund.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we can ask for whatever we want. I mean, we could say, look, let's just make it a 5 mil levy and generate.
Well, I'm just saying at this point, we've had 3 meetings now where the fire chief will explain what he wants, and this hasn't come up as part of it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying give them everything they want, I'm saying this should be put on the table earlier.
Chief or AC, do you remember, when did the 24-hour staffing actually begin?
2020.
So it was it really due to COVID?
Yeah, it was due to a funding
That we
grant.
allow, or,
It was funded by COVID.
but
COVID
was the
grant.
plan to do that before COVID money became available? That's what I thought, and that's kind of where the stipend came in. It was,
When we moved into this building, it was right soon after that, we went to 24-hour call. We moved in here in the fall of 19.
yeah. And so, I mean, COVID allowed it to happen
Well,
easier, but I don't
There's
think it
like
was done
$180,000
because of
grant.
COVID.
COVID allowed it to happen, and it's the reason why this levy wasn't done 2-3 years ago. But, I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here. The question, I guess, and the point isn't wrong. I mean, the 2.5 mil levy definitely gives us a buffer, and it gives us the flexibility to do whatever we want with the funds. I just,
What
to
happens
me,
if it fails?
then,
We're right where we're at now.
no, we're not right where we're at. We're not right where we're at.
at.
We're where we were at the beginning of the year with $150,000 less in reserves and still needing an ambulance that we can't afford to pay for.
Yeah. If it were up to Brian and Brian only, it'd probably be way more than 2.5 mil, right? So, and so, I mean,
okay.
he's not reaching for the stars. I think he's compromising on 2.5 mil. And I guess my opinion is, I like the 5-year levy because in 5 years, the bond will be done We'll go back to the residents and say, hey, we can keep the same 2.5 mil, and there's a savings on the bond because the building's paid for, so they're actually getting decreased, and we can keep funding the fire department, so, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the continuance levy, just because we're living it. Let the residents tell us what they want to do, every 5 years. I mean,
I'm glad we're on the
way it
same
should
page
be.
with the continuing levy that's in place now, because A, we've got the rollback, which is.
Yeah, no, you don't touch that.
But it's our,
Yeah.
it's basically the fallback,
Right.
it's the base. And then there's pros and cons to doing it this way. I mean, I like a 5-year because it only puts the taxpayers on the hook for a finite amount of time. If they don't wanna renew it or replace it in 5 years, then
Maybe they want us
Sense.
to lower it to 2.0 or 1.75.
there could be discussion
whatever.
about that as well. And the bond levy's gonna fall off here in 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Is a 2.5 mil levy for 5 years, the original one, is that a game stopper for you?
Well, one, it doesn't matter. There's a reason why there's three votes. I do think, you know, in looking at Chief's numbers, a lot of it depends on whether we're, you know, how much of Chief's proposal we're planning on implementing, right? You know, if we're truly going to replace part-time staffing with full-time, you know, with full-time staff, with pension and benefits, then yeah, the 2.5 is probably fully needed. You know, if we're going to transition into that, or if we're just gonna look at continuing the current setup with part-time firefighters and EMS, and, you know, look to pay them a better wage, we can do that and still buy the equipment well within a 2 mil levy. And like I said, I have a tough time asking the residents to write that big of a check, when we haven't done everything that we can, you know, to maximize the dollars that we've been given to date. You know, I think, you know, acknowledging that we could have been better in the past, and that we're gonna work to do better going forward, and making a reasonable, or what I feel is a more reasonable ask, is probably a safer play. I mean, I think everybody up here would agree that the lower the millage on the levy, the better the odds of it passing.
So, Justin, just for clarity, your 0.75 and 1.25, that's 2 mil.
Mhm.
And what is that, for $100,000 valuation?
Well, it's gonna be.
2.0.
It's gonna be 80% of whatever Chiefs,
2.5 mil was.
2.5, and we said it was what, $86?
Well, 2.5 is 87.50.
Right, so
So-
2.5 at 87.50.
So, less than $10.
$70.
Yeah, and then on top of that, a little less than half of that will only be for 5 years, and a little more than half of it will be for forever. Well, continuous levies can always be rebuilt. Voters can referendum ongoing levies. You know, I just think the other thing too is it guarantees, it reassures the public that they get the equip, you know what I mean, they're approving the equipment on the fire levy. If we do an ambulance levy, we're definitely buying 2 ambulances, and that only supports the fleet. And then the operation, you know, not that I think it's anybody's intention, but it can't be staffing's costing us more than we think, so we're just gonna put off buying the ambulance if we do them separately. It handcuffs what we can do with it, so that the residents know exactly where their money's going.
You think the 0.75 mil in 5 years is gonna generate what revenue per year?
The 0.75 for 5 years, it would generate, you know, again, based on 289.5 per mil, which is what Chief had received from the auditor's office, and we would verify this, obviously, this is why we're doing a resolution of necessity. But the 0.75 would generate 217,125 per year, or $1,085,000 over the 5 years. So if you figure 800,000 for the two new ambulances, let's say, and maybe they come in less. Plus, we won't have to pay for the ambulances the second we get them. So we'll be able to generate some interest income off of this money as it comes in for the first year or two. Because as Chief mentioned, it's gonna take us time to order an ambulance and get it in. So we'll be able to offset some of that. And we'll have about $300,000 in addition to paying for those two ambulances to support maintaining the current equipment that we have, which will reduce the operating budget that we're currently working with off of the 616 that we're currently getting. Then the question becomes, what do you do with the operating levy? Which, like I said, I think between 1 and 1.2 still gives us $1 million a year to operate the department, where you're just talking about staffing. That's not, you know, and you reduce, you know, the burden. Instead of asking the residents for $735,000 amongst all of them, we're asking them for $588. So it's, you know, it's a $150,000 difference. And I know, again, spread across the whole township, it's not gonna be life-changing necessarily for any of the residents. But I think it allows us to do a lot of the things that Chief wants to do. It allows us to provide the highest level of service for our residents without increasing taxes more than we absolutely have to.
But you're talking about staffing in a significantly different fashion than what his.
Correct. I think for the
His
time being.
full-time staffing is 3 people, not, Seville's got 6. Brian only wants to staff 3 full-time.
Right, but this would allow us to have 2 full-time people, not 2 24-hour staffed, part-time people. So as far as like people in the building, there would be still 2 here 24 hours a day. We could pay them more than what we're currently paying them, because again, the benefit to, you know, the benefit and the detriment, right? The benefit to having part-time people in here is we're not paying them a pension, we're not paying them healthcare benefits. You know, we know what healthcare costs. I mean, a family plan's gonna run 25 to 30 grand a year on top of their salary. You know,
Part-time salary, sorry.
what's that?
I said their part-time salary, sorry, didn't interject, but.
No, if,
Part-time instead of full-time, they're expected to pull that out of their salary so they can pay somewhere else, right?
if they're part-time, they don't get benefits from us.
That's what I'm saying, so
Right.
then you're only paying them part-time. they've got to
Correct,
pull
which
the
is
money
why
to
we
pay
can,
themselves.
which is why we can then pay them more per hour than if we hire somebody that's full-time with the benefits. It doesn't mean we can't eventually transition to Chief's vision of a full-time department. I just think it's a huge jump from where we currently are. And part of that's not the fault of anybody up here, it's just the fact that it's been so long since we've addressed the levy issue.
Yeah.
It's a huge jump. I mean, again, the current operating levy generates $611,000, and we're contemplating a 2.5 mil levy that jumps that to
724.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a big jump.
I'd like to ask what
Yeah,
the chief's opinion
absolutely.
and AC Holzman's opinion is on it.
It's fine, this is an important issue. Right.
So. Again, I appreciate your comments. I'm a Navy corpsman actually. So but with equipment and things like that, so for example, just a quick, right off the bat, we've had an ambulance out of service for 2 weeks now. We're waiting on a bus bar, it's called, which is fusies and some other stuff that I don't know anything about.
You ain't gonna know without.
What's that? You can't go without it.
Without it.
And that ambulance is so old that they sent us a new bus bar, and now the fuses don't fit. So it's been 2 weeks this ambulance has been out of service. That's just an example. An ambulance is gonna be anywhere from $350 to $450 to fully equip it once we buy a new one. So, that's facts. We're spending every bit of our maintenance budget. I budgeted, if any of you, and I've said this 100 times, I will give you my cards. And it infuriates me because all you guys do is come out and go on Facebook and just bash me. If any of you wanna come in and sit down with me and look at my budget, I will show you line by line what my budget is. I'm not being irresponsible. It's been 5 years of overspending that now I've taken over that. I'm not asking for the world. I'm asking for an ambulance, and I'm asking for good service for our community. Some firefight, today, for example, we only have 2 EMTs working. We have 2 of our paramedics working that way, 1 of our paramedics working that way, 1 of our paramedics working that way, and I'm the paramedic for the day, for 24 hours. That's okay, I'll do that, no big deal, but that's the reality. They're gonna go somewhere else. They're gonna go where they're getting paid. We're only getting paid 18 hours a day, 18 hours. And then they're getting paid to not sleep in their houses, to not be with their families, $30 to spend the night. And that's it. That's all they get. So we've got to do something to keep and maintain our adequate staff. And that's where I'm at with it. There's, whether you pay 2 people 24 hours or I'm not asking to pay them $30 an hour. I'm asking them to just pay a fair wage that they could, they'll be here. The other problem with not, and full-time, sure, whether we pay people more hourly or we pay them hourly, part-time, that's fine, but then we're limited to 29 hours a week. And 29 hours a week is then we have a revolving door of first responders. And we still have that to a point. We don't have that problem here, which is great. We have about 29 individuals on a department. We have maxed out our gear usage and things like that, so we haven't had to purchase PPE. We've bought that through grants that I've sent in, so we've been able to offset costs that way. But those are things we're doing to prevent that. The continuous levy idea, either way, I'm fine with whatever you guys decide, but we're losing $400,000 a year, essentially, on revenue, because we're only collecting 1.9 mil on a 3.5 mil continuous levy. So when you're only collecting 1.9 on a 3.5 mil levy over 22 years, you're losing that $400,000, or you're giving it back, or it's not collecting, so we're not putting that towards operating this department. So we're not collecting any more than we have. So either way, somehow, some way, we need to fund the department in a way that's best suited for the community. I'm asking for just our department to be functional, and that's today, for example. We just have 2 EMTs. If we have an ALS call, I'm gonna have to leave the room and go on that call. That's the reality we're in today. So.
Brian, what makes me nervous is we're already, our calls are so high right now. They're just getting higher. Last year with 753, we just talked about it. You're gonna hit 830.
Right.
We get a lot more calls than most fire departments. But we really need to be conscious of that. And
Right.
we need to be prepared for it.
We're not asking to purchase, or I'm asking to purchase 1 ambulance in the next 5 years, that's it. And I haven't not asked to purchase large ticket items. Any large ticket items we have bought on grants, or we have bought on ARPA funds, or whatever. But we have not asked for large ticket items. I have not asked for anything over $3 grand, I don't think, in the year I've been here. And other than ARPA funds that were already allocated, or grants that I've used, or grants that I've applied for, and where that money is allocated for that specific fund, or that specific piece of equipment, so.
I'm not asking you, I'm not trying to pit you two against each other. I'm trying to just generate
Oh, I'm not
discussion.
pitting-
Take the continuing portion out of the 1.25 mil proposal for a second, because we can debate the merits and drawbacks of that. What's your thoughts on Trustee Paroli's increase in staffing compared to yours? Like
I think as long as we're able to pay our firefighters an adequate wage, I'm okay. I'm good with what I want them to be able. I want us to have good first responders here. We have probably, and I've said this before, there's probably 25 plus full-time firefighters surrounding this area. They're not coming to work here. Why is that? Because we don't pay them
can we provide the same level of service with, you know, the increased part-timers and increase into round-the-clock staffers? Can we provide the same level of service when compared to your preference of hiring full-timers?
Yeah, if we hire, yes, absolutely. My idea would be to eventually transition to hopefully three or not full-timers, but three part-time staff people.
24 days.
24 hours a day, that would be ideal, but I know that's not gonna happen overnight. And that's why the idea of full-time staff is just that transition phase where you can bring in full-time personnel that are dedicated and ingrained in the community, essentially. If we pay them a good salary, they'll stay within the community and they'll serve the community and have some loyalty to the department, essentially, so. Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody have any idea of how many more residents we have added to the city in the last 5 years? I mean, we're building like
Yeah.
crazy, so
Yeah.
hence more people are moving in, we have more needs then.
Yeah.
So how much has it grown?
I think we just talked about it last meeting, it was like 7,200 is
Give me 1
the
second.
The
township.
current population?
Yeah, but
So I think that's 1,100 more than 2020 census.
our call volume is increased over the years. If you look at our Lafayette Township website, the fire department website, you can look at our call volume for the last, I think it's 5 years maybe, and how it's significant, how it increases, so.
As
5
far
years.
as a one-on-one, if we do go by a percentage though, are we still holding the same percentage that we were holding back 5 years ago?
Of calls,
Yeah.
no, we're up by,
But you're doing that on a one-on-one numbers, how about?
right, numbers.
Yeah.
I think she's,
But
I think she's
numbers
saying adjusted
per
for
people,
population
people. Yeah, I
inflation.
see what
Right.
you're saying,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a good question.
See if I still have it.
I haven't figured that out.
I know,
Look at the
percentage of
population.
less-
Yeah, I was,
Brought it up.
I had it,
If it's over 7 now.
it is over 7 now.
Then that's significant just in the last 4 years.
And I wanna say, it's like, I wanna say it was like in the mid-5s 10 years ago. So you're still looking at 35% increase in population. It's not insignificant, not at all.
No.
Can somebody on the board here comment on the effect on the fire department, the fire district budget of additional population increase? Remember, we all went through that increase in our property tax a year or two ago. You know, we all pay, you know, an income tax here, Can you comment on the effect of more people, more taxes collected on the fire district budget? Does it get any more money at all for
Yeah,
more
that's,
people?
that's actually the problem with the continuing levy we have now. On one hand, it's a fallback for us, because if we don't ever try to replace it, it's never gonna go away.
Well, the 5-year, they do the same. They readjust the 5-year
Right,
too,
right.
but
that's,
yes.
the whole point is like, that was what was that, Brian?
I mean, we just need with more people paying more taxes across that levy that's been in place for 22 years.
But that's not.
Yeah,
it-
when they
it-
started it,
collects
it
the
collects
same
X amount, and then every year it keeps
Goes
going.
down.
And it stays, we only collect that same dollar
Was
amount.
it
It just means each
3.25?
They
person.
just add all the people that come in to the township together, so if there's 50 people in the township, whatever we voted to collect, say we voted to collect $1,000. The 50 people there will split that. Next year, if there's 60 people here, they'll split it between 60 people, that same $1,000, which you're gonna get.
So we're literally servicing, a lot more people than we did 22 years ago, and we're doing it on the same paycheck.
So the building's bigger, it's cost more to maintain it, those are things that also go into this, that, it's just,
I appreciate your remarks about living within the budget. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to, but something's gotta give over 20 years.
Brian, what
I'm not
was,
asking for the world, and I think
No.
I'm keeping the budget under where it's ever been in the past
Yeah.
4 years. They've spent over 150,000 over each year. And this year, we're gonna be right about 800,000, hopefully, is where
Right.
I'm at. And
Since that last levy was passed, how much fuel alone prices increased?
if
double.
Yeah.
Brian, what was your opinion on continuous?
So the only other thing about the continuous, I would say, is you lose money over the years, essentially.
Right.
So you're not essentially losing money, but you're not collecting any more than what you first collected. So the 5-year levies are successful, for a lot of departments. So like, Medina Life Support Team has operated on a 5-year levy for the last 50 years now. So, and they continue to keep their revenue fresh then, in that 5 years. So in 5 years, if we decided, hey, the bond's gone and we're collecting more than what we need, maybe we reduce it to 2 mil, or maybe we keep it the same, or maybe in 5 years, the township is doubled in size again, and we may need to increase it by 0.5 or something, or
Hopefully,
whatever.
the number of calls would plateau as the
Potentially, yeah.
population
But if we keep it on
plateaus.
the ballot, the same mill, then it automatically increases, doesn't it? Like, if you put in for a 2.5 mil, and then more people move in,
You put a renewal levy on in 5
Yeah,
years.
if
So
you, right.
Put a renewal levy on, so that you would just renew the current levy, or you renew the current levy with a reduction. And you say, okay, hey, we're gonna only ask for 2 mil this year, because we've realized that we've got all this excess, we're gonna collect 2 mil, or, so yeah, that's.
Which
kind of-
that's a good point too. I mean, we could, in 5 years,
I don't-
we could renew with a deduction.
And I didn't bring it up because it's a slam dunk decision one way or another. It's a, you know, which situation do you wanna be in, right? Like, I mean, to Chief's point, LST, they renew every year, or every 5 years. And that's great as long as you continue to be successful, and it's probably odds on going to be, but what happens to LST if the renewal does fail?
Right.
Then
Right.
it's catastrophic to their organization. So it's just a matter of, you know, a continuous levy solves one problem, maybe a low probability problem, but it solves one problem versus, you know,
Potential.
a different problem, you know, with the 5 year, so.
I think the problem that I have as a resident and coming to me for more money is I really wanna know what I'm gonna get for my money. The thing that I think a lot of us are afraid of is, say you get that levy in, and then one of the guys says, well, I helped you get that levy in, so you need to make me full-time. Well, now, instead of having a guy who was here for 29 hours, is now here for 40 hours, making over 100 grand, we're in the same exact position we were before. That's what I don't wanna see happen. I don't wanna see the money being used to put people in positions instead of bringing in new people, bringing in more people, bringing in hungry people who wanna work. So how do we make sure that that doesn't happen with the money we give you?
Well, if we were hiring full-time, there would be a full recruitment process, and there would be standards that would have to be met. And then there would be a potential interview process, and agility test, and a background check, and those things. It would all come together as like, if you're transitioning to potentially a full-time position, absolutely, would be absolutely different than what we're doing now. Again, my door is always open. My information is on the website and anywhere you can find it. If you've got questions, you wanna look at my budget firsthand, I will show you. I've got it on my computer, and I'm pretty diligent about that. And I think any of you that wanna come in and talk, I'd love for you to do that instead of airing your aggression on Facebook. I got a thing in my office that says Facebook keyboard warriors need not apply. So, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. I would start a motion unless there's still some more discussion, but I would agree with the 2.0 mil, but I'm not a big fan of the continuous levies. I would make a motion that we do a 2.0 mil at a 5-year levy. That way we'll be what'd you say the savings was between the two
I think it was $87.50 per $100, or per $100,000
for the 2.5?
for 2.5, and it would be a $70 per $100,000.
70 even? So that's per 100. $17.50 per 100.
Any additional thoughts on that one?
Give me 1 second.
So Ty, what would the increase be to the public?
$70 per 100,000. The same as Justin's two continuous levies. It would be the same money, but
Just for 5 years?
For 5 years.
yeah, for 5 years. And then, I guess my personal opinion is the bond drops off in 5 years. And so we can readjust at that point. It might go down, might stay the same, I
There
don't
should
know.
be tax
But I mean,
relief, in 5 years.
there'd be relief because the bond will drop.
So that millage is for the ambulances or the?
Well, it's for
No.
everything, operating in general.
So it's not separate?
No, it's not separate.
Correct, and I think, just to piggyback, the only thing that I think Ty got confused there on was, the two that I proposed was a 5-year ambulance and a continuous operating.
Right.
Oh,
And it's fine, but yeah, so, but the motion is for a 2.0 mil levy, 5 years, just one straight, it'll fund the department, and then how those funds are dispersed or allocated is up to the board.
Doing
So
the
that
two,
all goes into the general fund?
For the fire
For
district,
the fire
yes,
district.
yes.
So- Okay,
So the 2 mil would generate 5. I'm gonna write it down.
535 or something.
Yeah, 579, so that would be $579,000 increase, to the operating budget for the town, for the fire district. And then those funds would be what we would use to purchase any equipment that was needed and/or modify staffing. But there would be, yes, it would go into the general fund, there would be no statutory restrictions on how we use that money.
But you could commit some of it, so that it couldn't get used for other purposes.
well, each year we could appropriate, the
Yeah,
state
but-
could appropriate,
Well, what I'm
But-
saying is let's commit it to the ambulances before it gets, well, we got this money, so hey,
There-
this guy needs a raise and that guy
There's-
needs a raise and.
But I think, and I don't wanna put words into your mouth, but that's where the idea behind two different levies was for me is,
Yeah.
we can tell you that, but at the end of the day, it's as good as our word, we can change it tomorrow. If it was two different levies, it's statutorily restricted, kinda like our police levy we talked about earlier. The residents approved funding the contract with the city of Medina. That tax money cannot be used for anything else. No matter what we wanna do with it, that's where it's going. And that was my thought process behind the two levies, was to do kind of what I think you're asking for, was this levy
Earmark it.
funds the fire, funds the equipment and buying the ambulances, and we can't do anything else with it.
Can you do two separate ones like that? Do one for operating or one for equipment and one for staffing and operating?
That's
Absolutely.
basically what he was proposing.
No, I mean, but without doing it continuous.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, we can
yes,
do-
we can do 2 5-years.
But at that point, it's the same amount total.
But you're allocated,
You're
so
providing
it
less,
goes
less flexibility to the chief, less flexibility to us. Circumstances
point.
change.
But
That's
I understand where you're going with it, but
Show
things,
me you can, show me I can
things
trust you
change
with
as
my
well.
money.
You know, if you
Show me
lose,
you can be trusted.
if we lose an engine or something, we gotta make massive repairs on that. It would be nice to be able to pull from, an overall bucket then.
And if we lose
And not
one now,
get an ambulance.
we're in a worse place.
What's that?
Just
And
as-
not get an ambulance.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
Right,
The
and
ambulance.
not get an ambulance.
Yeah.
You could spend the money any way you wanted to, and push comes to shove, we don't get an ambulance.
That could be done
That's
if it's a
what- that's what I'm
decision.
saying.
Yeah,
That would be highly
Yeah, I
unlikely.
mean, it would be,
Yeah.
you could allocate it for both repair and cost, so you would have, if you did buy one, you would have.
Well, that's-
funding in there.
That's
I mean, I
why
don't know
we, that's
what-
why we budget, and, you know, of course, budgeting for the fire department right now is nearly impossible, but once we have adequate funding, we budget, just like just saying, you know, with, and the chief was up there, we want to budget for an ambulance, so that's where the first portions of that new money would go to, was be the ambulance, because that's what we're budgeting for, so. So, Michael, that's, you know, that's why we set budgets for certain items.
I think that we should rule the government and not have the government rule us. And if we go ahead and mandate that this money is set aside for an ambulance, I go with that, I know what the hell I'm getting for my money. But does it giving you a mountain of money and a shovel to throw it wherever you want, as you may need, I don't like that. I wanna mandate the government, we're gonna give you the money, and we're gonna tell you what to do with it.
you're more than welcome to have that view, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, if you're
Hey,
gonna
see what
do
you're gonna
it,
say.
put 3/4 on there, that ain't that much, I can eat that.
So my thought is, okay, if we get allocated money for ambulances, and it doesn't work out for the staffing, what good are the ambulances without the staff? You gotta have both.
Yeah.
You gotta have both.
That's my point.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
would like
We
to
did
comment
one
on what
just
Mr. Harris
for the
said.
staffing.
That
Why do them separate? Why?
Because we've seen where money has gone places.
If you have two different
It's not smart
levies,
to do
you
that.
have two different levies, one could fail and the other one pass.
If you have one
That
levy,
would
if you
make
have,
no sense
if
at
you
all.
have one levy, it could fail.
Yeah.
If we ask for one big levy and it fails,
I
then
think if we ask for the right, if we're
Yeah.
honest what we want the money for, what the money's gonna do, I believe it'll pass. Okay? I mean, I don't want, I'm just saying,
I've already seen
we're just gonna
tonight.
give 24-hour coverage.
Mhm.
This is what I believe probably most people would want. They don't want us coming from home anymore. Believe me, that was bad. If you're in a bad situation and you call the fire department after 6 o'clock, years ago, not that many years ago, you're waiting a long damn time for us to get there. Do you want that? This is what 24-hour staffing will give you. And you gotta have the ambulances to get there, so that's what thought is in my head.
we were talking about the accident on 162 and Ryan Road, where 7 municipalities reported to that accident. What I would like to know is, what did that cost the taxpayer? Did all those people really need to be there? And my point is, so we have multiple accidents, our salary goes up, and voila, we don't have money for an ambulance. I think that we need to guarantee to the public that we are going to have the facilities there, to take you there and to fund it.
Let's be clear, the 6 departments that were there that weren't Lafayette did not come out of the taxpayers'
Correct.
money.
and
We didn't pay for any of those departments to be there.
Oh,
And
no,
there
I'm
was-
not saying that.
That's what you just
No, I'm talking collectively as taxpayers
Yeah.
throughout Ohio or throughout Medina County.
It's called backup.
Yeah.
It's called mutual aid.
Well,
We
and they
help
also-
them, they help us.
Right, but it still costs money.
well, and that's the reason why that accident I brought up, to talk about the importance of addressing the safety issues there, because you had 3 vehicles that were involved, so you had 3 different sets of people. You also had traffic control, that's part of what was there, that's part of the reason why the city of Medina was there, Mountville PD was there. They shut off traffic at, you know, I mean, basically all 4 directions, traffic was shut off, but you're right. You know, that's a huge burden on the taxpayers, which is why it's an issue that we should lean on the county to help us address, because it didn't come out of our pocket necessarily, but it came out of other communities that feel the exact same way that our residents do. And if we had some proper protocol in place or traffic controls in place there, we could help alleviate some of
And
that.
like
So,
I'm saying, is that comes out of salaries, and of course, salaries have to be the #1 priority
Mhm.
for the fire department.
Yep.
You gotta pay these people, and then but you have to have the equipment too. And that is why just giving them one blank check we need to allocate the funds. I don't think we can be,
So you're saying they're both vitally important, and but they should be separated with.
I think that they're,
with
yes, they are important, but I think that we need to tell our taxpayers what we're gonna use their money from, because I think that Mr. Kavanaugh is right. The fire department has been receiving a lot of bad press. And this, asking for a blank check, is not gonna help. It most certainly will not help, and it won't get a levy passed.
And I
And
think-
especially if you only have one levy, it's like kicking the cane out from a one-legged man. I mean,
So you
we're really
think we
being
should
screwed.
ask for 2 blank checks, albeit them both small?
No,
That's-
I'm saying that we allocate the funds, that we put it towards buying the ambulances, and secondly, funding the people. Whether you do it over a 5-year or continuous, I guess it really doesn't matter.
And
But
I think the only, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
you just have, you have to tell the people what they're paying for. Everybody wants to know what they're paying for.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like half and half. I mean, if you set a certain amount aside
Right.
for ambulances and repairs and fire trucks, then it's a smaller amount, and then you have your operating costs that can also contribute that down the line, but that ambulance fund should be there. If you don't have staff, you can't run the ambulance fund.
Right.
Vice versa, if you don't have an ambulance.
I-
Can't you
They
just
take
draft,
out the car.
can't you just draft a levy like $500,000 for equipment replacement and the other $1.5 million for operating expenses or general fund?
I
I
don't know
think
if that has to be.
Kane-
Well, I
two
think,
separate
I
levies
think
or-
that defeats the purpose though, and here's why I say that, right? Because you're gonna have, and I don't wanna try to oversimplify this too much, but you're gonna have a pocket of people that are not gonna approve anything, and you're gonna have a pocket of people that are gonna approve everything. All right, but then you're gonna have the bulk of the people that are gonna be in the middle, right? And I think if you polled them, you would not find uniformity between people that are gonna support additional staffing and people that are gonna support the equipment. I think there'll be some people that think, oh, well, they can make do with the equipment, but the staffing is vitally important. So you might pick up a vote on the staffing that you wouldn't get if they're combined because it's a bigger number. And the same on the other side of things. You're gonna get some people that are like, hey, we don't need, there are plenty of townships our size that don't staff 24/7 or that don't have full-time. So there'll be some people that may approve it. And levies don't typically pass by huge margins, So looking at it from a standpoint of what the outcome, for me, the outcome of no levy passing creates a very dire situation for our township. And I think that by breaking it up, it increases the odds that at least one, if not both, are gonna be accepted by the voters. And while the ideal solution for our department is that both would be funded, getting one over none is a far better situation for everybody involved. And that's, I don't wanna belabor the point, but that's the last,
Yeah, and there's 16 different ways of describing it. I certainly wouldn't describe it as a blank check, because don't forget, when we budget, we're budgeting in front of the residents, so it's all open forum budgeting. So if the chief says first thing on the docket is we need to put money away for an ambulance, and the 3 trustees agree with it, well, then that's where the first chunk of money goes, and then we can work on staffing. So I mean, it's all in budgeting,
What the former Marine said there about old equipment, that absolutely is correct. And what the chief said, we've got an ambulance that's down for 2 weeks. That's not acceptable. Giving guys bent barrels on an old gun is ridiculous. And basically, that's what's happening here with a beat-up ambulance. I like the idea too. The taxpayers are guaranteed, and it comes down to what I said, we are gonna regulate the government. We're gonna tell you guys how we're gonna spend this money. Now, you're gonna be the tail that wags the dog, as I always like to say. We'll give you the money, but we wanna know how it's gonna be used before we give you the money, not afterwards. We'll give you discretion. We're not asking for every penny accountability, it'd be nice, but with regulation here. Let's guarantee the people their ambulance, I'd be happy with that. And like Dustin said, the probability of having two small ones pass is probably far more likely than having one big one. And if the big one goes down, we're done.
Well, there's no big or small.
Well,
They're both
2.25
they're
is-
both 2.0.
Right.
I just made the motion for 2.0 at a 5-year levy. So, the only thing we're splitting hairs is, Mark, is, equipment versus operating, keeping them separate. It's the same money.
Correct, and it gives us a better chance to decide whether we want all or nothing. Well, it's not all or nothing, it's one or the other, or maybe possibly both. Again, you're giving more choices to the voters, rather than one choice, this is it, you got 2.0. Well, now we got two, we got 0.75 and 1.25. Comes out the same as yours, Ty, too.
Yeah, I'm
But
just.
at least the people have a little more say-so in the money.
Well, no, and I appreciate that, Mark. I'm just wondering though, would two, actually, if you think about it, I mean, just kind of stand back and think about it, would it confuse people when you're both at the same time? You know, a lot of times you'll see the levy and they'll kind of rotate, one's operating, one's, and they kind of, but we're asking, and they're gonna go, what are you clowns doing?
And that's
You know, I
not a
mean,
bad
not
idea.
not saying.
Monkey see, monkey do. I heard the chief say somebody, who was it? Medina or somebody, they keep every 5 years and it keeps going. LSD, correct?
Yep.
Well,
Well,
if it works for
Seville's-
that monkey, why not ours?
Yeah. How many times has Seville done theirs?
40 years? That sounds good to me. I can live with
A
that.
lot, yeah.
Well, I mean, since we have a motion on the table, I'll second the motion so we
Hell,
can
I
at
hope
least
you're
vote
up
on
for that. We
it.
give you 20 anyhow.
I'm talking about a 2.2.
2.05-year
They're praying on
general
fire
operating
dead
levy.
now.
That was your motion, correct, Ty?
Yeah.
All right, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 2-1.
Then I won't say nothing.
All right, anybody else have any other unresolved business?
Yeah, unfortunately, a couple of things real quick, hopefully. The .org website, we officially own LafayetteTownship.org. So the domain issue is solved from the standpoint of, it doesn't matter if we lose .com next year, because we have a .org to transition to. So I don't know how we want to handle it, but I would say some point between now and the end of the year, we should probably work with either the helpful marketer or another web person to work on transitioning away from .com to the .gov, get a new website, even if it's the same website with a new domain. Because I guess maybe the only hiccup is the sooner we start using .org emails, because when we lose the domain, we'll lose the emails too. So we should probably try to get that set up, I would say no later than the fourth quarter of this year, so.
give me 1 second. Kristen, when you meeting with Abby?
Next week.
We can bring it up next week.
Okay.
Good idea.
Just let me know any questions you want me to ask.
I will forward you the information from the .gov, you know, what
Okay.
they need, and they'll,
I'm sure,
Abby will have a better idea than what I
I'm
do.
sure
Yep.
she does, yes.
Yep.
All right. The last meeting, we talked about cell phone bill. Did we get that?
Laura and I went to AT&T. We got the new phone ironed out. It's not 7, it was 14. if I'm not mistaken. That's the cost for the, $14 for the new cell phone, $14 per month. There's still a device on there that they can't say what it is.
How can they not say what it is?
It
So
has-
they can stop billing us for it?
We have to either,
Is
log
that
on or
the-
call, and we've tried multiple times.
That's the 9172 number, this one here?
Fourth one, yes. And I mean, there's no data on it. They think that it's a tablet or an iPad or something other than a phone itself.
Okay. Because I'm just, I mean, I know,
And that's been on there for years.
oh, no, I get that piece of it, because I'm just trying to figure out how we went from $150 roughly a month before we added one line to now paying over 300 a month because we added one line. I mean, if you look, and I know, and it'll be something else I want to bring up, we were paying like $30 a month for most of the lines before we added that, and now we're
We need to
paying
change that for
70 a
whatever
month.
reason, when we got that new phone, and it wasn't supposed to be, they they combined them with two different plans. And I don't know if it's shared minutes, but we don't use hardly any of it. So we are trying to get in touch with them to get everything on one plan. So it'll be a shared plan, much cheaper.
How tied in are we, do we know, like, when you were in talking to him, do you know how tied in we are, like, with a contract on any of this stuff? And
Well, it's, two of them we're paying on the devices, so I'm sure that's.
so we can probably pay those off and be done with them,
Yeah.
though? The reason I ask is because one of the things that I've been working on for the last couple months is like the IT stuff with, we talked about a few months ago, splitting the fire district and the township. If we move, and it's kind of where things are going, but if we move to an IP phone system at the township, we can eliminate the need for any cell phones. And the reason I say this, because everything can be done through an app with the IP phones, so that you can have an app on your personal cell phone, but the calls will all be funneled and routed separately. They'll all still be recorded and logged, so we'll have that separation from township and personal. I mean, we could probably eliminate this whole bill. But what we can do is, Bill Thorne still has his line on here.
Yeah.
He would like to keep the phone number if possible. If we're okay with just authorizing and releasing the line, he'll, and he's got an old,
Right, and last time it's
ridiculously old phone that's,
iPhone 3 or something.
that's paid off. It's probably got little to
He
no
wanted to
value.
keep the phone too,
He
last
would-
time I talked.
yeah, exactly.
And
So
that's one of the things I tried to change originally, but I wasn't on.
we
the
just
account,
have to,
so.
we just have to authorize AT&T to release that phone to him, and he'll put it on his personal plan and be gone. Are we okay with that?
And I'm
Yep.
okay with him keeping the phone as well. I mean,
Okay, then I would make a
Yeah.
motion, and since you're on the account for AT&T, that probably falls on you.
it's hard to get somewhere though. We have to get a hold of the damn agent though, right? Like, we tried to do it in the store, they wouldn't let us do it.
All right.
I
Who are
want-
the account reps on the phone, or on our plan?
The-
You? No, like, who are the authorized?
Laura, that's
Did we
all
put
in here.
Ty and Justin on last time? Or just-
I think it's just you and me,
Okay.
Chairman.
You might have
All
had
right,
to
so
be
rock,
present.
paper, scissors, who gets to do it? And you lost, Chris. So, but yeah, if we can authorize, that number to be released, I'll let Bill know, and he'll switch it over to his plan. We can at least get rid of that and try to figure out
Yeah,
the IT stuff. But I do think that,
If
when
we
I've got a
can-
little more information on it,
If we can, get rid of that phone, get rid of that plan altogether and move to something
yeah,
different.
what is on that, what other than,
we have
Bill.
we have Rick, Sherry
Yeah.
oh,
for zoning.
oh, okay.
And then we have the admin phone, and then whatever the mystery
Yes,
device is.
Turn it off.
No, I think it's that old Galaxy that she never used, or whatever.
But didn't we
you
turn
call
that
those.
in? Didn't we give
No,
that back
it's
to?
junk. I mean, it was obsolete.
So we should be able to just cancel the line.
That, right.
What's your sign out here? Didn't you order a phone line for that sign?
No.
No. The cell phone was for the lock. It was for the lockdown at the admin cell phone was,
The
yeah,
new one is.
So town hall, yeah.
was for her to be able to use it down there. And then Laura, what happened with, we had the check for reimbursement on the camera?
Yeah,
Gonna talk
it's
about that.
going.
Oh, okay.
She voided it, I returned it, and we purchased it on the township credit card with no sales tax.
Okay.
And that was in accordance with, I forget the resolution number,
Well, and that was what I was gonna ask. I mean, we probably need to revisit it because the credit card policy,
2010.
yeah, was the last one, and it's clearly not what's in practice. And
Right.
that's just it's 14 years old.
Yeah, right.
So
What
if
was
we're
the
not-
procurement one? Do you have that one too?
Yeah, the
I have it in here
procurement, the
somewhere.
procurement was anything over,
But what was that
$500.
dated, 2002 or something?
Oh, yeah, that one's,
Yeah, let's just do them both and
They were current
discuss
for the
it.
auditors when they were in, right, Ty? You wanted to try to hang me on something from one of those?
Oh,
But now you
We're
don't
past
want to
public
follow it.
participation.
Yeah, we're done
Is that it?
So that's a good idea, Justin, let's talk about
purchasing,
those.
credit card
Yeah,
policies,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
It's because he was interrupting, much like you are, sir. Anything else?
No, I think those were the,
I've always got the speakers here.
okay.
I would like to, now this includes, and I don't know much about this
Yeah,
stuff, that's
same.
2 speakers, connection, microphone. I think we could get a couple of stands, only 1 mic. So I was going to ask for approval to spend up to, I don't know, $800 to buy some microphones, microphone stands.
The only concern I have is does anybody have a good working knowledge of what that
No,
equipment
and
is
that's
over
why
there?
I was hoping.
Because Sherry put me in contact
Can I see
with a representative that does a lot of her stuff for like her band at church. And depending on what equipment we have over there, we may be able to get away with just buying some microphones. I hate to put it
I know because we have this.
off
and
any
we
further,
use it.
because I'd like to have something for the next meeting. I mean, that's also not a ridiculously big bill. I mean,
It's less
You-
than
you-
$1,000.
you
We
can-
can set speakers up in here. If we don't
Yeah.
like it, we can take them back.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, anything that we do that's gonna be on a professional grade is gonna be way more expensive than that anyway, so. I'd say you probably wanna get at least 5 microphones in,
microphones.
for the 4 of us, and then if we're gonna do it,
Yeah.
you know.
So
yeah, I'm good with that, Chris.
if it's 5, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of microphone and speaker equipment, stands, whatnot, up to $1,000.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign?
And you're taking point on that, right, Chris? Okay.
I have the OTARMA. I don't think this is necessarily anything we have to make a motion
One of
on.
them they needed before.
Well, you just need to fill it out and make sure the
I
information was.
contacted Renee at Burns and
Oh,
Flowers,
okay.
Burns and Flowers, and updated the sheets. Rick
Okay.
updated, I think he copied everybody on the file that listed all the equipment and stuff and any changes on it. All we would need to do is submit this to her, and then they'll issue proposals for costs for insurance. Laura, you'll have to fill out the questionnaire as the fiscal officer for both fire and township. I would say that maybe the rep and alternate should be the fiscal officer and chair.
Yep.
Do we need to vote on it, or?
No.
It makes sense, most other
Yeah.
things are like that.
Yep.
For both sides. And then Brian and I were on the phone with her today as well on the listing of equipment and stuff for the fire district side. He's going to finalize that sheet and probably send it to you, Ty, as the liaison. Then you can just forward that to Renee. But I'll send her this stuff anyway.
Yep.
So-
I'll be here tomorrow with Brian anyway, so we'll do that tomorrow.
You guys have any other?
No, Kristen's got a couple.
I have some old business that what's an update on the banking situation with Westfield?
The prosecutor has the depository agreement to look over, so we haven't heard back from the prosecutor. Yeah.
Okay. So it's still cooking.
On slow burner. Kristen, what's your 2 items?
Some community event dates that need to be approved, for a, picnic at the pavilion, kind of like a ribbon cutting ceremony, a community picnic. The date I had for that would be Saturday, September 14th. The next one would be a Lafayette Township trunk or treat at, the Safety Services Building on Saturday, October 26th, which is the Saturday before Halloween from 12 to 3 p.m. And then another event was the Staff Appreciation Dinner. The date I had for that was Friday, December 6th.
And you gave the dollar amounts for the Oaks versus the Williams on the Lake.
Correct, it's
and
up
it
there on a
was-
piece of paper with
yeah.
a postie.
Yeah, we got that. I'll do the easy one first. I'd like to make a motion to approve the employee appreciation dinner for December 6th at the Oaks.
I'll second.
Was it, just real quick, I mean, because I know we've always done it at Williams on the Lake in the past, was there some, I haven't attended in the past, so.
She was, Kristen was just trying to keep it in the township.
Okay, I just
And-
wondered if there was
and,
an issue with Williams.
No.
They've done a
issues.
good job.
Yeah.
There, I just heard that people would like a change of venue, from responses, but it was literally, it's $1.25 or something
right.
difference, and plus, then it's in, Oaks is inside the township as well.
And we're just approving the date though, the
Yeah.
date and the venue?
Yeah.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Kristen, your ideas on that Halloween trunk or treat, was it gonna be like last year's, like with the open house, or?
Yeah, sort
Or-
of. My idea for the Halloween trunk or treat is that we will have activities, games, crafts. I already have sorry, my brain has stopped. A food truck to come and, I even talked to Chief about maybe having a little bit of food and drinks and things like that for the first, from 12 to 2:30. So we would have, activities and kind of like a social gathering then, and then at 2:30, we would go out and we're gonna do like a decorate your trunk contest, like people will already have that done. But then the kids there'd be two different groups. The first ones would hand out, and then the second ones, and then they trick or treat, and then you honk the horns and swap, and that would kind of be the end of the event, that everybody's kind of moved outside and done that.
So is there a cost to the township for that?
Not really, I mean, I would like maybe a small budget just to be able to make crafts and games and stuff like that, but if we, we'll try and do the best we can. I wanna get my 4-H club and some other nonprofit groups to come and help, the little kid, it's gonna be geared more towards elementary school age children, like the event, but anyone is welcome. But I wanna get 4-H kids or whoever, other groups to come help work the event, cause they love it when the big kids are there to, help them with those activities.
And what's small?
What do you mean?
You said small budget.
Well,
Oh, a couple $100.
I would say we can always
$200.
approve the event, get it on the schedule, let Kristen kind of put her plan together, give us an idea of, what she
Yeah, I
thinks she
can
needs with a budget, with a kind of
I like
just a
that.
rough breakdown. But
I-
at least this way we can get it approved and on the schedule, and then we can approve funding
Yeah,
with some more detail.
Yeah, I can
Does that work?
definitely have a budget of what we would need. I already kind of have most of the crafts and activities planned out, so I can go in there and see, it's like bowling into,
Well, and I think at the
towels that
last
look
meeting,
like
Mark
pumpkins
Albrecht said he
and
would
stuff.
fund it anyway, so we can reach out to the local businesses and hit them up.
We mostly got donations last year.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I think I'll make a motion to approve the trunk or treat for Saturday, October 26th. And then Kristen can get us a little bit more
Yeah.
detailed budget. We can approve
Okay.
some funding at the next meeting.
okay, that sounds good. And Kristen, your picnic at the pavilion.
Okay, real quick
Yeah.
before you
I'm
go
sorry,
there, we have a second for the.
second.
All those in favor of
Aye.
1026, aye? Aye, opposed, same sign? Motion carries. All right, go ahead.
Kristen, I was getting a little jumping. It's 20 after 9.
I know, I was like.
What's your ideas with picnic at the pavilion? This is.
I'm thinking more just like a grand opening, everybody can come see what the pavilion looks like, the nice work that's been done. We do, you know, kind of a little ribbon cutting ceremony with all the 3 of you there. And then, I don't know, I do already have a food truck that, a lot of these food trucks, it's like, oh, well, you have to guarantee $2,500. I'm like, no. But this one is a brand new local Medina family that's starting a food truck, so they're not doing any sort of minimum. They're just, hey, we'll come and whatever we get, we get. And I was like, that's perfect. I mean, people can bring their own food. Think about maybe even setting up like a volleyball net, maybe do a cornhole tournament, just something fun.
Okay, all right.
September 14th will be here before you know it.
Right.
So here again, we can approve the date. Now this one here, are you gonna be talking to Renee? Because I don't know that we're insured on the picnic at the pavilion, so
That's
we
right, it
could
wasn't
add
on
that
that
on
list.
the rider.
Well,
I think we
that's-
just have to let them know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bounce house, it's not booze sales or anything like
No.
that, so I don't think that one necessarily has to be.
No, we just have to notify them,
Yeah,
right?
and
Right.
and we have the pavilion on there now, I
Oh,
believe.
is it?
I
Oh.
think so.
I didn't. All right, so
What was the time for
I'll
that?
call on that.
12 to 4.
Okay. What did I do? I mean, we could change the time, that just kind of came up with that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think that's good.
Yeah, that's good, Kristen. All right, so I'll move to approve the picnic at the pavilion Saturday, September 14th from roughly 12 to 4.
A second?
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign.
And just keep us in the loop, Kristen, as
I
you
will.
normally do. And then your safety council,
Oh, they were asking, about us renewing for next year. I got an email. I think we need to talk, I emailed them today about, cause we asked Sherry what option we used, and she said it was option 1, which is $0 for the, what does it say on
It's
there?
included with another membership, I thought, wasn't it?
the chamber member.
Yeah.
For change, but what does it cost to be a chamber member? That's what I wanted to find out, and when does our chamber membership expire? So that's what I was wondering. So I emailed them, and I just have not heard back
Who, the chamber?
through the chamber.
Yeah.
What's the deadline on the safety council response?
It's I think
July
it's like
31st.
31st.
Oh, cool.
I mean, I can always email her back and say, we still want option 1, but
Yeah, worst they're gonna do is come back and say, you're not a member and
Mm.
You need
what's,
to pay
what's
this.
the,
I mean, the most expensive option is $295. We can approve that tonight and go with whatever the cheapest one is, or whatever we did last year.
whatever the
We
cheapest
can
we're
approve
eligible
up to
for?
$295.
Yeah, I don't think the chamber is that high, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the safety council membership.
I'll
Up to
second.
$295.
Ty, you seconded?
Yep.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Um,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks, Kristen. I'll move to pay the warrants. and
Actually, I have one
adjourn.
more thing I want to go over. This is regarding the letter that you sent to
Yeah.
the police a couple weeks ago. I'm not saying you did anything to be, purposefully. Huh?
Louder, he can't hear you.
Yeah, what did he say?
He said, let's discuss it, I'm sure we are all interested in hearing.
Maybe you will be, maybe you won't, but,
You can read it if you'd like. I mean, I wasn't gonna bring it up tonight, but it's totally up to you.
I want to because the end of it frustrated me. I'm glad that Lieutenant Markham's here, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, sir, but you may be able to clarify some things for us. We hadn't really talked about this, but in March during the election, I think it was the 19th, there was a special election in March. There was an unauthorized access to the town hall building at night after the polls had closed. I think former trustee Linda Bauer was here at the April 1st meeting, and she said that it was her, and she wanted to check the election results, and went in through the back door. Noticed it was open, so she said she didn't have our numbers, so she called the Board of Elections. I believe that's what she said in the meeting. I think she called down to the state auditor's office.
I do believe that's correct, yes.
Not that that's a huge difference.
Secretary of State, actually,
Okay.
for the elections,
Okay.
but I think that's.
Okay. And then she had your number, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She didn't call you.
No.
She doesn't have ties of mine probably, but no big deal. But we haven't talked about it since. We haven't made a big deal about it or anything. Haven't even brought it up. But then you kind of apologized to the police department on behalf of the township and the trustees, and insinuated that either Ty and/or Rick and/or myself gave incomplete information.
I didn't insinuate it, I said it very clearly that
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah, okay. It was incomplete at best and false at worst. And so that's pretty damning to say that.
Well,
but,
Then, just real quick, and I'll let you finish, but, to that point, trustee Fullerton, and it may not have been directly to the responding officers, it may have been through Rick Evans, stated specifically that a review of the surveillance and footage confirmed that Linda Bowers was a liar. The statements that Linda Bowers made about the evening were that she found the rear door, the south door to the town hall, open, and she opened it and looked inside and saw nobody there and left, which is exactly what was confirmed by the video. There is.
I don't think that was confirmed by all of the video.
The only camera inside the town hall points from the corner beside the door into the thing. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
I hope you
I'm
have the
not-
video.
I do.
I've got the 2 hour, or the hour-long one. Don't play just the snippets. Because you can see the door when she walks in from the exterior, she pulls open the door, and you can see the light on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm not about the election.
And then the statements about whether or not the door was locked, because Rick Evans reported that the door was locked when he arrived on scene, and he clearly opens it. Now,
Folks,
Hold on a second.
well, let's play the video, and then we can talk about the rest.
So, you said that the township failed their responsibility to secure the building.
Absolutely did.
So, polls closed at 7:30
Correct?
on the 19th. This is the camera, the only camera inside the town hall, pointing towards the voting booths. Here's the door in question over here. There's also another door over here, a glass door. Those are the only two entrances for the public to use. So, at 7:30, the polls close. And you can see up here, the timestamp up there is 7:36, so it's about 6 minutes after the polls officially closed. Right here is a door from the garage area, the maintenance garage.
Yep. Agreed.
Where Rick's office is back there. So this is Rick Evans coming in at 7:36 to do his job after the polls close.
Mm-hmm.
He goes over to the glass door, which has to be locked via key from the outside. And I don't think there's a deadbolt on that one. It's able to be opened from the inside. But on that glass door, there's also, I guess, a panic bar, whatever you want to call it, that can always allow someone out from the inside, so that if there's ever an emergency, they're not trapped inside. He then, after locking that door with the key, heads over to this door. You can't see it, obviously, but I don't think he would be coming back to do his job and not come back and actually lock the door with the key. He's locking the knob right there with the key, which has to be locked from the outside.
Okay.
And I don't mean the outer vestibule door, I'm talking about the door.
I do apologize, I need to take this call real quick, but I do want to revisit this, because you're not 100% factual.
But I think we can safely assume that he went to do his job and to lock those doors.
So you're saying just locking the panic bar, you don't need the bolt lock when you
The
have the
deadbolt,
panic
there is
bar
an ex-
activated?
There is the knob that locks by a key from the outside, and there's a panic bar that will open it from the inside. There's also a separate deadbolt on this one that can be operated by phone, opened up, or it can be unlocked manually from the inside.
Before it got undead, his head wasn't the worst.
Sorry about that.
No, you want to say before.
Emergency with my suit.
He was way off. Now he's on his bed. He's on meds, he's like a zombie.
That's, I got it. Look, I mean, we can put all the other stuff aside, we understand the family comes first, I don't have an issue there. But whenever you want to revisit this, we can.
Now Tyler.
They give him a shot. Well, yeah, I'm gonna let him talk to him. You don't talk to me much. I had my middle son up this Sunday. We talked a little bit.
All right, so
He's like way out here.
Rick locks the second door, the second of two.
The south door.
Oh, I could get
Yes.
one.
What does he lock
I got no
again?
problem with
The
that.
doorknob with the lock, the key.
I just.
The deadbolt?
No, the deadbolt has nothing to do with it.
The panic bar.
I only care about this door, this is the only door that matters.
Right, that's-
What does he do over here? I don't care what he does over there.
Well, I don't
Can't
think-
see what he does over there.
What he does over, what he does over there is completely
You
irrelevant.
couldn't-
to
you
what
couldn't-
we're
Well,
talking
you couldn't
about.
see what he did at this door either, but I think it's safe to
That's
say
what
he
I'm
went to
saying.
lock that.
But you
Right,
can't
but-
assume.
But I
But let's
talked
talk-
with him. He's going back to, are you gonna argue that he went to that door and didn't lock
I'm gonna
it?
argue
Let's
that
talk-
you don't know what he did.
Let's talk about.
It
let's talk
won't
about
stand
how
up
this-
in court.
Let's talk about how this door works over here. It has two locks on it.
Yep.
It has a handle lock that works with the panic bar, and then it has a deadbolt that is what works off of.
Either a thumb turn on the inside or the phone on the outside.
Right, but
Or
there's
I don't
no,
know if
there's no key to it. And if the deadbolt's locked, the panic bar doesn't work.
Right.
If the deadbolt on
If the
top,
deadbolt is locked, yes.
the panic bar will not work.
Correct.
if the deadbolt is there, and there's no, we have no key, if you key lock the outside to the bottom one that's on the panic bar,
Uh-huh.
the deadbolt won't open the door either.
The
So they work
deadbolt-
independently.
Correct.
So the only way that the door ever opens is if the deadbolt's unlocked and the bottom's unlocked. So just so we're on the same page, because the
From
statement
the
that you-
inside.
or from the outside.
No, you can go, if the deadbolt is open, you could open the knob with the key. You
If-
absolutely can.
You can open the knob with the key,
Yes.
but if the deadbolt's locked,
Correct, if the deadbolt's locked.
okay.
Are we talking about the
Proceed.
inside door or the outside?
We're talking about the inside.
The interior of the two
Okay.
doors, the outside door is never locked.
Okay.
So he goes and tells the election workers that, hey, you guys are locked now, last person out. Once the doors shut behind you,
Mhm.
you can't get back in. Now, you can refute that he went there and didn't lock the door.
I'm just telling
Yeah,
you.
I know, okay,
You can't
you're
make an
right.
assumption.
But I think we can safely assume that he came back specifically to the complex to do his job.
I don't think a judge would ever grant that.
Either way,
We're not on trial here,
no,
but we're
no.
talking about what's the
You
likelihood.
might.
No one's
There's
on
there's no crime committed.
Another
Just
thing
keep
that
going.
could have happened is someone could have went to the door and went outside and didn't lock it again.
No. Rick locked the door from the outside, on the doorknob. The only way to open that door now is to use the panic bar
Use the panic bar.
from the inside.
That's what I'm saying, but someone could have left via that exit and used the panic bar and left the door open.
No, because it's locked. Once it closes behind you, if you use the panic bar, it locks. It's still
Okay.
locked. You can't get back in, and that's the point.
Well, obviously, if the door was open, it was left unlocked.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, anytime.
I don't know what the time. This is
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay.
You don't know
So-
who I am, but he knows who I am.
Throughout the next, half hour-ish,
Big trouble.
poll workers are doing their job. They leave. turn the lights off. Remember, this door over here.
They're going out that
They're all
is
going out the locked
Well,
door.
of course they're going to the locked door. They can open it with the panic bar from the
Okay,
inside.
and can you prove it closed all the way?
But if it didn't shut, that was the report.
No, can I prove it?
But that's what you're saying.
What do you mean? It was,
You're saying the door closed and relocked so that nobody else could get in. But you can't prove that on that.
as this door right here closes,
You can see it closed.
boom, it's closed.
All right, it's
Now,
closed.
it's closed.
Yep.
Now, no one's in
It's
there.
a-
Now, it's 8:02. No one's left in the building.
Door to, it,
I don't remember all these in order, so.
is there no camera angle then that's on that door at all?
I'm sorry?
Is there no camera
Look,
angle?
it's open.
No, it's
It's
open.
Yeah.
That's Linda opening the door.
No, that's not Linda opening the door, I don't think. That's 8:12. Yes, that is. That's 8:12. That's Linda coming back to open the door. So at 8:02, the last poll worker leaves. At 8:06, the last poll worker leaves the parking lot. And then at 8:12, that's Linda opening the door right there.
Well, if it was locked, how'd she open it?
You tell me.
No, you tell me. I don't work there.
Must have not been
But
locked.
if nobody was
Really?
there- Wait,
But we
wait,
saw
hold on
Rick
a
go
second.
unlock it.
If
There is no crime, why'd you call the police?
Huh?
There is no crime, why'd you call the police? Why'd you file a police
Do
report?
you have more video to play?
Board of Elections called them,
You can watch.
and they did it.
Well, I've watched it all, I don't need to.
But so you're gonna tell me that Rick didn't lock the door?
Obviously, Rick did lock the door
Mike?
when it got open.
You mind?
It's not possible someone has a key, huh? The most likely thing would be that someone might have a
What are you doing
key.
going in the building if it's supposed to be locked and no one's supposed to be there and the lights are off?
If she still has the key, that's 100%
She
on you
was
and Rick.
checking the poll.
No, I'm not saying she does or doesn't, I'm just
Then you're
saying.
saying that she has a key.
No, I'm not, I'm just saying it's possible that someone has a key. But it's very
So-
unlikely that Rick walked over there and didn't lock the door. Let's be real, I mean,
A lot, a
Well,
lot of things could have happened.
the nice thing about the electronic thumb lock at the top that deadbolts it is there's an electronic log that shows that after Rick left and between them leaving and these guys leaving, that was manipulated
bazillion times.
numerous times.
Because they,
But was unlocked, the deadbolt was unlocked when these people left.
correct, it has to be, they couldn't get out. They have no way to relock it.
Well, you go on the outside and you push the lock button and it locks.
No, there isn't.
Yes, it does.
You have to have a code.
No, you don't. You can push the lock button on and it locks. I've been down there numerous times since your email response to my email.
Well, it might now.
Where
That-
you
that's
claim that the
actually-
door worked a certain way that it
That's a-
doesn't work.
That's a different lock.
But here's the interior,
key
here's
code
the
on
south door, and there's the entrance.
Yeah.
So we can skip through a little bit of this, because this is just them all leaving.
Give it 5 or 7 minutes.
I don't think everybody, we've been here long enough.
Yeah, no, right. that's
Well, yeah,
what I
but
said.
I mean,
No, that's
but-
what
but
I
I'll-
said.
if you're
but
gonna
I'll
go
give
down
it
there
to
and you're gonna believe that, and you're gonna hang your hat on the fact that Rick went down there but didn't lock the door, I mean, it's ludicrous. He
I'm
came back
not
to
saying,
the-
I'm not saying he didn't necessarily
Hey,
lock it.
OJ
What I'm
walked
saying
in
is,
it.
Huh?
when,
There you go.
OJ walked
when
in me.
when the last election worker left, nobody from the township was there, and that door is unlocked right now.
How could it be unlocked if Rick locked it with the key, with the?
Prove he locked it with the key.
Nobody can unlock the door without the key, they're not
If,
allowed.
if he locked it, there is no way Linda opened that door.
That's my point, that's what I'm telling you. So you're saying he went over there and didn't lock it?
So when
This
you
is-
guys took office, well, first off, I've been down there numerous times since your email. That door handle has never been locked. Never once that I've gone down there has the door handle been locked. It's always off the deadbolt. It's always off the keyed one.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying on election. night,
Well, election
it was
night,
locked.
Rick did say that he used the panic bars, because people kept screwing with the damn lock all
But then
day.
why,
But the panic bars
we can
are
watch it, because we'll
solid.
get to it, but
Yeah,
then
we'll get
why,
to it.
then why before everybody showed up did Rick then decide to lock the deadbolt at 8:58 and then go around the outside? Watch, we can watch.
That's fine. He probably came back to see if it was locked, because he got a call.
But this is just a dead period between when,
Yeah, just,
it'll be right here. Here's the last election person watching, and then we'll see Ed and Linda pull in.
yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is, you're now taking this whole, we don't know definitively. But the reason this all became a big issue is because on this night, the township took a position that it was definitive, that Linda had a key to that door or somehow illegally accessed that
Nobody
door.
accused Linda of having a
No,
key that night.
there's nothing.
But what Rick
That's
said
not
was
what I
that,
read.
I didn't, did you? Did you accuse her of having a key? Did he?
I
accuse her?
didn't
Nobody.
hear. I didn't hear about this until the day we sat down to try to have a
You were on
coming
video
together.
coming back that night.
You're absolutely
So
right.
you say you didn't hear about it until later.
Why would I have known anything that was going on? All I knew is that there was a car parked here, and I thought it was odd that Rick's truck was still there. I pulled in to do the same thing Linda did, which was hopefully check the tapes that were typically posted here, but I know that you guys have, like, not you guys, but the Board of Elections has since moved them down here, but they used to always be taped right here. And then when I didn't see the results posted, I left, because I figured there was a car here, and Rick was here, so I figured there was still something going on inside, and I didn't want to mess with it. They just weren't posted yet. And you see me, I pull in, I check the door, I walk in. I didn't even go into the inside vestibule. But the thing is we got the police involved. And the funniest thing about the whole
Don't
thing
say
is,
we, Board of Elections
Board of
did.
Elections called the police.
Board of Elections did all
but
that.
the township made numerous statements. And then you and I talked about it when we were down at the admin building about 2 weeks later, and you said, well, I don't think the video is going to show what Linda says it's going to show. Now, I don't know if you'd ever seen the video prior to that, because
I don't
mean-
remember at that point if I did or not.
but the video clearly doesn't show any of the stuff that we said. And what was really interesting about the police coming out is, what else did the police find on this night?
They didn't find any crimes.
They didn't find any crimes, but they found the admin building was unlocked as well.
I did not know that.
And it had been unlocked for at least a week.
I did not know that. It's the first I've heard of that. Until you read the letter.
How did you not read?
I saw your letter.
It's in the police report.
I don't-
that letter's in response
I
to.
don't recall seeing that, but you're gonna tell me though that Rick went there and did not lock the door. He was, for this, really, that's what you're gonna say? He comes back for the specific reason of locking the doors, and he's not gonna do it? I mean, come on, and the video shows him going to the door?
Did he walk to the outside of the door?
You don't need to walk to the outside.
You have to-
No, you don't. You open it,
It's
just
far,
like he did. He locks
it's
it and then
far more
shuts.
plausible that this door wasn't locked than Rick locked it and Linda somehow.
If we didn't have Rick on video going up to it,
Well, here, the best part is, since we're not even in question this, let's watch this part. Let's go to.
3 more minutes, because she'll pop
Well,
over.
okay, we can go back to that if you want to see that.
No, go back to, go back
Sorry.
to,
Go back here. Ish.
get right there.
There they are pulling in.
Yeah. Makes a beeline, turns around.
Right.
This is the passenger side door up to the vestibule.
Yep.
She pops out.
There's a little bit of a time delay between the cameras, but you can see that right there, the door's opening.
Mhm.
Lights on.
Double checks, doesn't see anybody around, shuts the door, never walks in.
No,
So no illegal access.
No crime.
No one's accusing anybody of a crime. I just think it's a very, very far-fetched to say that Rick did not lock that door when we
What's
watch
the
him
time
walk
frame by
in.
the time she got out of the car, to the time she opened the door?
What's that?
What's the time frame by the time she got out of the car to she opens the door?
20 seconds?
If that, yeah.
To walk 5 feet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You don't push, neither of those doors push open, they both pull open.
So either you pull it or you push it, it doesn't matter what, pull it or push it, it's 5 seconds. I'm not saying she did anything, but I'm saying it's a lot more plausible that took 30 seconds for somebody to walk 5 feet and open a door.
So that's the end of that, and then.
walk quite quickly, I do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, still 30 seconds from here to there. I'm just saying it's
Rick is
possible either
on
way.
scene.
Like they're saying, you walked over there and didn't lock the door, well, you could, in 30 seconds, put a key in the door and lock it.
What do you think, Mr. Markham? What's your professional opinion? Rick went out there and mistakenly didn't lock the door after walking up to it?
I don't know.
I know you can't.
I
say
don't
it.
know, and
I don't understand why we were even dragging him into this again.
Because you apologize to the police
like
department
we've
on
said
behalf
from
of
the
us, is
beginning,
that
there's
we,
no crime that's been
Correct.
committed. No, someone opened the door.
You can't tell whether the door is locked or not.
Why would you call the Board of Elections instead of police anyways?
Oh, right.
Who's, here, it's right here.
Right there. What is that, 2053?
All this stuff's out of there.
So here's Rick pulling in at 2053.
yeah. But he walked up to it, right?
How do you know he didn't go to chat with someone?
Share it with who? There's nobody else there.
No, I mean, when he locked the door.
So right now, he comes back because he got the call from the police.
Okay.
Or Board of Elections, I'm not sure which.
Walks in the back hallway. But now, somebody would have had to have locked it between Linda opening it and Rick coming back, because there was nobody. We could all watch the 50 minutes, but there's nobody. I think we can all agree
No, yeah, I'm not
there was
saying there's
nobody on
anything
site.
in between there.
So there's nobody in between there.
Feasibly, a rock could have been stuck in between the door and it could have just been stucco.
No, there would have been that light gap.
Not necessarily. I mean, you're talking a little pebble, it's got a water seal on the bottom of it and everything else.
Okay. Don't tell me he's gonna check the front door.
Inconclusive.
Pushes the door open.
Probably.
He will, right here.
There you can see the light.
I saw the light. Oh my
And yes, the door could be, but
The door could very well be locked right there. I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying that.
sure, the outside lock
You
could
could-
be,
yeah.
but it would have had to have somehow been locked between Linda being
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
and Rick. And he's gonna make a phone call, and the way that it works is he comes back, he pushes it open a couple more times, and then at 8:58, he decides to lock the deadbolt, and then go around to the outside when the cops get there to tell him that the deadbolt was locked. What?
The deadbolt has nothing to do with this.
Sure, if you lock the deadbolt, then it makes Linda look like a liar, because there's no way she could open that door if the
I don't think any of what he was saying was that, though.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make a motion to pay the warrants to the township and adjourn. Have a second?
Why don't you make a
Yeah, I'll
motion that
second.
that's inconclusive?
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye? Opposed, same sign?
I'll abstain.
Meeting adjourned.
The inconclusive?
It is.
It is 9:50.
I've never seen anybody turn the thing on and make themselves look like bigger things than people think they are.
This is my gym.
Linda had a key, and she went in there to build it.